of the panel today is a parent, and 100% of people don't know what a wet phone means.
Oh, you had to say it. You had to say it, Sarah Lane.
Well, I mean, I didn't bring it up. All right.
You reintroduced it, though.
Oh, my gosh.
That's it?
Kids. Yeah,
I'm
they
sorry.
were so mad.
I don't know what it means.
It says March 9th, 2018 in Urban Dictionary, so that's all right. I'm not with it. Sorry.
I am not with it either.
Albert Grannis Lane founded the Manual Training High School in September 1908.
How about that?
Just training manual. Manual.
He
is very
was
happy
the
about
Chicago Superintendent of Schools.
Wait, manual training? Is that different than automatic training?
Yeah.
Old Uncle Lane, as Sarah used to call him.
Things you do by hand. Manual training school.
Crazy old Uncle Lane.
My old uncle, he founded a school out in the Midwest.
Old Albert.
Crazy Uncle Albert. You crazy guy.
So Uncle Albert had a farm. There was a Paul McCartney song about it.
We're so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle
He also
Albert.
talked like this. Hi, it's me, Uncle Albert. I founded
That was
a
Peter
school.
Panda.
Oh, that's right. I'm making this mixed up.
That's a different uncle.
My phone
Different
is
guy.
wet.
No.
Stop. Just stop.
You know what?
I feel like you're children. Dad, you don't know what you're saying.
Would you shut up, Dad? Shut up. I hate you.
I'm gonna need like a cheat sheet for this when my kid gets old enough for lingo. Like, what's happening?
Urban Dictionary.
No, we've only got a minute to showtime. You don't want to do that to yourself, do you? Do you?
No,
Are
I
you
do.
sure?
She wants to know.
It's like, no,
She
I'm
needs
pretty
to
sure.
know.
I'm pretty sure I do. Oh, dear.
Oh, that's not even bad. That doesn't.
really?
That's nothing bad about it. No,
Good,
it just means
good,
you're
okay.
popular.
Let's just
All
leave
right.
it there.
Okay,
Great. It's not bad. Exactly.
it's not bad.
I think
Don't
we're
dig
looking
into
at the
it any
same
further.
thing.
Took us
have a lot of
defined
pens.
tomorrow.
All
Something
right.
else.
All right, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Here we go.
What's that? You want to give back some value for the value you get out of Daily Tech News Show? No problem. Just head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support to find out how.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, March 16th, 2018 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
Iyaz.
Oh, I didn't realize I should introduce myself. From Not Studio 54, I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And spring is in the air in Cleveland. I'm Len Peralta.
See the Patreon pre-show to understand why Len's talking like that. Our producer, Roger Chang, has a sore throat, so we're not going to make him talk today unless he absolutely wants to, but we're very glad that he is here, and we hope you feel better soon, Roger.
Hello.
Let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Sources tell CNBC that former chairman of Qualcomm, Paul Jacobs, who is the son of the company's founder, wrote to the board that he would like to purchase the company and take it private. Jacobs resigned, that's the word that we're using, as executive chairman last week, and Dow Jones reported Friday he may leave the board altogether. The Qualcomm board is meeting to discuss Jacobs today.
He was resigned, as in they resigned him.
Right. Yeah, sure. Okay.
He pulled a Nixon, apparently. All right, so Facebook apologized after its auto-suggest in search began completing queries with offensive suggestions, including sexual suggestions involving children. Facebook is investigating the issue.
Microsoft is testing the idea of forcing anyone who uses the Windows Mail app in Windows 10 to have all links from emails open in the Microsoft Edge browser, no matter what default browser they use. Microsoft's Donna Sarkar wrote in a blog post about the test, "We look forward to feedback."
Speaking of feedback, Google Lens is rolling out version 3.15 of the Google Photos iOS app, starting with a complete release for all users over the next week. Google Lens analyzes what's in an image to give more context on places of interest or things in the photo itself, and etc.
Awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit more about a new Apple announcement date, Iyaz.
That's right. Apple announced a media event for Tuesday, March 27th at Lane Tech College Prep High School in Chicago, of all places. It's going to be focused on creative new ideas for teachers and students. The announcements might include lower-priced iPads and MacBook Airs, maybe new iPod socks targeted at classrooms or a new Apple Pencil. Apple hosted a similar education-focused event in New York City, home of Pace Salsa, in January 2012, and announced iBooks 2 with interactive textbooks, iBooks Author, and a new version of iTunes U for iPad.
But I thought Pace was in San Antonio.
I know.
People always try to like glean, from the announcements themselves. And supposedly the way that it was written, the invite looks like an Apple Pencil.
Yeah, it looks like a sketch, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that, it's a exercise in Kremlinology to figure out what Apple's going to announce. But if they're going to do it at a high school, it makes sense that they would do education-focused stuff. That's absolutely clear. They actually say that word on the invite. And tablets and pencils are definitely part of what Apple has promoted to education in the past.
Would you say that the details are sketchy?
I would not.
Okay.
Because you just did. I think what's most interesting is that Apple is making an off-cycle announcement related to education. It's something we don't think about. We always think, well, Apple makes their WWDC announcement, then they make their iPhone announcement, then their iPad announcement, and that's it. And they've moved things around in the past, and they want to open themselves into new markets. They're pushing into enterprise with partnerships. They're pushing into education, competing with Chrome OS and with Microsoft Windows S. So it makes sense for them to want to come up with some new stuff. I bet we'll be surprised at a couple of these.
Back in the day when the iPad was first sort of new on the scene, you saw a lot of school districts being like, okay, this is what we're doing for the students now. And Chromebooks really just mowed that whole idea over as far as adoption goes, because it's way more affordable. So it'll be interesting to see if there are cheaper iPads for students on the horizon.
Last night, I told my Amazon Echo to turn off the TV, and it did, and then said, hey, let me tell you about brief mode briefly, except it wasn't very brief. Brief mode's rolling out for Amazon Voice Services. It uses sounds, like maybe a chime, instead of spoken confirmations like okay. Usually it just says okay, but there's some other things it'll say, and it's going to shorten those up, use sounds to confirm that your request has been acknowledged. The Echo may ask you if you want to enable brief mode after you make a request, like it did for me, and it can also be enabled or disabled in the app. So if you want to see if it's rolled out to your Echo, you can just look at the app and look for that switch. Is this weird to anybody? Like, I didn't think Amazon Echoes were that verbose before now.
Well, I wouldn't mind. The chime didn't seem so bad. Sometimes when you ask it to use a harmony scale, it'll be like, getting harmony. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. It's like, just do it and be quiet. Like, you don't need to give me a full explanation all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. It does seem like it's an interesting thing. I turned it on and the chime happened. And then my wife was like, I don't know, I kind of miss it saying okay. It didn't take that long for it to say okay. So I'm curious what other situations I may run into it in and go, oh, I'm really glad she's not chattering at me. But I don't find that to be a problem too often anyway.
Thursday evening, the city council in Plattsburgh, New York, Iyaz, you may know where that is. I have not been there. Somewhere probably north of New York City, unanimously voted to impose an 18-month moratorium on new Bitcoin mining operations. The move was proposed by Plattsburgh Mayor Colin Reed after residents' power bills rose in January quite a bit. Plattsburgh is near a hydroelectric dam on the St. Lawrence River that provides 104 megawatt hours of cheap electricity per month. That's below the national average. But hey, if your bill goes up, your bill goes up. Any overages must be brought on the open market at higher prices, which are then distributed among citizens. Often happens in cold months like January, but residents feared more miners moving in might raise prices even more. So CoinMint used roughly 10% of the city's total power budget in January and February. Local miners say they are willing to work with the city to lift the moratorium, even though they oppose it.
Plattsburgh is 305 miles away from me.
It's 20,000 people.
That's a big state.
So it's not a huge place, and it's an interesting situation where they have this cheap hydroelectric, but there's a cap on it. So I get where in the past they had these cheap rates, thinking like, hey, maybe we can get some industry into our small town, and then too much industry came suddenly, and it's weird to me because it sounds like prices went up in January like usual, but because you have all these cryptocurrency miners and because one of them was using 10% of the output, people started to feel uncomfortable. Like, well, wait a minute. It always goes up in January, but would it have gone up that much if CoinMint wasn't around? And of course, all the cryptocurrency miners are saying, hey, we'll work with the city. Maybe we can cover the overages somehow, but they want to be near that cheap hydroelectric power, especially in the summer when the town doesn't go over as often.
Plattsburgh. Such problems that we all have all the time. Microsoft officially announced its gaming cloud division Thursday, headed by Kareem Chowdhury, a 20-year Microsoft veteran that has worked on Outlook, DirectX, and Xbox engineering. Microsoft wants more developers to use Microsoft cloud services like Azure. But Microsoft also has its own cloud service, Xbox Game Pass, and streaming games is a big focus of the new division. Chowdhury says Microsoft is looking at the ability to stream games no matter what device is being used. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on here. One is a very sensible move by Microsoft to have its gaming division kind of try to send some business toward the cloud division, right, with Microsoft Azure. But also the idea that Microsoft could try to become the place for streaming games. We've talked about the services out there like Shadow that provide rental access to a device where you can just install Steam and run games all day long. I would imagine Microsoft might not go that far and that open, but try to provide something that says, hey, it doesn't matter what device you have, plug into the Microsoft gaming cloud service, and you'll be able to play all our games on whatever device you have. Because that's the appeal of Shadow, is like, oh, I can play Steam games on an underpowered phone if I want. So the question is, can they strike the deals to get the games beyond their own? Obviously, with Xbox Game Pass, the cool thing is any first-party game that Microsoft makes comes to that service at launch. You don't have to wait for it to come later. But they're certainly not going to get exclusive Sony titles to any Microsoft service, one would imagine.
Yeah, it seems definitely tough for Microsoft to be able to have, imagine like a Microsoft app on the PlayStation. That's probably not going to happen anytime soon unless they somehow decided to go, okay, we're out of the console business. That could be a complete pivot, a change in the future, because I don't think consoles are long for this planet, maybe beyond maybe 20 years. Yeah,
unless they were able to take some kind of service and brand it in a way that it was not Microsoft oriented, you're still not going to have Sony wanting to replace their own service. You know, they bought Gaikai for a reason. They want to provide their own streaming service there. So you're never going to get all the games. But I guess being the PC gaming platform, you could give Steam a run for its money potentially.
That'll take some work.
I mean, yeah, but imagine with Steam right now, you have all the advantages of a cloud gaming service in that you buy the game and it doesn't matter what device you're on, but you can't play them on every device, right? Even though you could access it, if it's not available for your platform, you can't get it. If Microsoft comes in and goes, haha, we're the Windows service, and guess what? We now have a streaming service. So not only when you buy the game through the Microsoft Windows Store do you get access to it everywhere, but you also can get access to it on devices that Steam can't run on.
That's all I want to see is their tagline. Haha, we're the Windows service. It's like, all right,
exactly. I don't know. I think this is going to be some interesting developments for Microsoft for sure, and pointing the direction to where we're going with gaming. I think gaming is more and more going to move into the cloud, or at least going to try to move into the cloud. And whether people will be willing to do that the way they have with documents and services. I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'll never move Microsoft Office into the cloud," and now people do.
As you mentioned, a 20-year life on, physical consoles. I think it's way less than that.
I give it 8 years. And the reason I say that
I would say 5, for playing Price is Right. Like,
everyone used to say that about Netflix when they were slowly integrating their services into a cloud on-demand streaming service. Internet's not fast enough. There's not enough broadband. People are not going to pay the rates that the bandwidth demand. It all got taken care of over time, and you don't have to get rid of the console, right? You keep the Xbox logo, you keep the APIs, but instead of integrating into a square box in your living room, it just integrates with a larger architecture that's cloud-based, and therefore you could still keep the Xbox momentum without necessarily needing a physical Xbox.
Yeah, I don't think the two are necessarily tied to each other. I mean, the game console may or may not survive based on the fact of whether it adapts to what people need hardware-wise, but then the cloud gaming service could be entirely independent of that. I want to congratulate us, though, on getting this far into the discussion without anyone using the term Netflix of gaming. And I apologize for being the person to do it.
We did it.
Yeah. All right. Next week at YC's Demo Day, startup Nectome, that's Nectome, not Neck, will describe technology behind its hope to exquisitely preserve brains in microscopic detail using a high-tech embalming process. That's a quote. Nectome promises a chemical solution that will keep your body intact, particularly your brain, for up to thousands of years as a statue of frozen glass.
What does that sound like?
This technology
Does
review
it just
article.
remind you of anything very specifically? Okay.
Does it remind you of something?
Tom?
Statue of frozen glass? No? No? All right. Future scientists could then scan that brain and turn it into a computer simulation. Nectome's plan is to connect people with terminal illnesses to a machine in order to get their data while they're under general anesthesia. The company says what they're doing is legal and has consulted with lawyers familiar with California's 2-year-old End-of-Life Options Act. And there's a waiting list. 25 people have signed up with a fully refundable deposit of $10,000. In case they change their mind, they can pull it back out. But there's 25 people on the wait list. Now, there are obviously loads of ethical questions. And to be fair, in this technology review article, they talk about how Nectome is being very careful. They're not marketing this service yet. They want to make sure that they put this in front of the medical community to have a big debate so that they're not seen as predatory and encouraging people to die. But they think that if they can responsibly bring it to people who are ready for euthanasia anyway, and granted, the whole euthanasia debate is its own debate, but if they say, if we can bring it to people who are in that situation anyway, we think we have something to offer.
I was trying to make a Han Solo joke, by the way. It did not go well.
Carbonite. Damn it.
But, you know, it's funny. I was at the DMV the other day renewing my license, and I had to, you know, be like, yes, I'm still an organ donor. Yeah, I'm into it. You know, if I'm dead, you do what you got to do.
Save a life.
For the good of, yeah. So, you know, on the surface, this doesn't seem that dissimilar to me. If there can be a lot of wisdom gleaned from somebody who has passed on, whose brain, you know, can be harvested for information, I'm not weirded out by this, really.
Iyaz, are you weirded out by this?
A little, just because I'm reading the quotes from the co-founder, Michael McKenna. It's saying, quote, the user experience will be identical to physician-assisted suicide. Product market fit is people believing that it works, which is a very co-foundery kind of thing to say, but it's a very strange set of words to be put together. The user experience of having your life terminated and your brain replicated in a beautiful piece of glass, which is wonderful, which is fragile. Why not have something that's more robust? Maybe the glass is Gorilla Glass. I don't know. Now I'm thinking of Gorilla Brains, and I don't know where I'm at anymore. So
right. I mean, there's a whole rabbit hole that you can go down to, and probably should go down to, honestly, which is why I'm glad they want to put this in front of the medical community for rigorous debate before they ever make it a service, about whether this will encourage people to want euthanasia that might not otherwise. Maybe there'll be false hope about survival. But setting that aside, I think there's also an interesting question of, what does this actually do? All right, let's say I am definitely, suffering, and the humane thing would be to end my life. What do I get if I pay $10,000, first of all, or more, to have this done? So again, what I'm trying to say is, you're gonna be euthanized either way. Should you be euthanized with your brain preserved as a nectome, with the hope that someday someone will be able to take that preserved brain that is theoretically preserved better than a frozen brain, which destroys tissue more, and reconstruct something. Even if they reconstruct you in a computer simulation, is that really you is a whole philosophical question. And there are big questions about whether personality can ever be reconstructed simply from the physical structure of the brain.
Definitely sounds like a Black Mirror situation.
But you're dead. So like, let them have at it.
But you have to pay for it.
If you can be recreated in a computer.
I mean, this is not for it's not for the great unwatched. These are for people who are like, my brain is amazing. Study it after I die. Here's 10 grand.
Yeah. Because if you have a lot of money, your brain is obviously worth preserving.
Right? Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that. The richer you are, the smarter you are.
I think there is a valid use for this in study. And this Technology Review article talks to a couple people who very carefully say, we think we could learn a lot from scanning the preserved brains. And they have actually taken someone who died. They were not euthanized using the process. They took the brain 2.5 hours after death. So it was damaged by that amount of time. And they used the process then to kind of show the connectome at that stage. And there's a lot people can learn from that. So I think there's something valid here educationally, what we can do research-wise. Just don't know if it's worth doing otherwise. But I don't know. I'm not Ted Williams. I didn't freeze my brain and put it in Arizona. So also I'm alive. It's 100% fatal to do this, folks. All right, to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. You can get it on the Amazon Echo, brief remote or otherwise. You can get it on the Google Home, on the Anchor app, and at dailytechheadlines.com. Lyft is testing monthly subscription plans for high-frequency users who spend up to $450 on ride-hailing a month. So you have to be spending a lot on Lyft to get offered this. But if you are, you might get offered 30 standard Lyft rides for $199 a month. Another offering was priced at $300 and another at $399. $399 got you 60 rides. Now, individual rides of up to $15 were covered under these plans. A Lyft spokesperson said that the company has been testing all access passes for several months now. Uber tested a similar kind of service in a number of cities in 2016. I don't take Lyft or Uber that often, and when I do, it's $16 or $18, so this would never work for me. But I guess if you're looking at, I have a car payment that's $450 a month, or I could just switch to this, does it make sense then?
Yeah, especially maybe if you're going up and down someplace like Manhattan. But then again, the timing can influence the cost of the actual trip. I just think it's interesting that Lyft, and I guess Uber doing this a while ago, is experimenting with how they're going to survive as this moves on. There's a lot of other companies, including Ford, trying to do their own ride-hailing service. How are you going to differentiate these different things? Because essentially, the difference between Lyft and Uber at this point is like tremendously bad PR for Uber because of reasons that I don't need to explain. And Lyft is the other guy. So that's why they're different. But to have these variances in services, I think it's a great thing for the future. I don't know if $450 or $600 is going to be great. I could see businesses getting on this. You know, if you're shuttling people back and forth between, I don't know, an office and a broadcast center back and forth, it totally works for people like that.
I actually have a friend who lives in the same town that I do, does not own a car, and has a business discount with Uber. So it's exactly what we're talking about with Lyft, but it just happens to be with Uber. And I think that that's probably where both of these marketplaces are going is, almost like just like a batch benefit for people. Okay, well, if you work here and you don't have a car, we've got some sort of a deal for you. $450 a month sounds like a lot, but consider if you didn't have a car and you had to go somewhere back and forth every day, and let's just say that's $20, right? And it probably would be more, but let's just say $20. Over the course of the month, you're getting up to $450, and that's way less than your car payment and the insurance costs for the car as well. So in many cases, it actually adds up.
Well, and don't forget, $450 is what you're paying now to be offered the plan. The plans are $200 and $400, so they're a little bit cheaper. The idea is you're saving. And from what I could tell, Lyft does have their own business plans, but they really are marketing this as a car replacement for individuals, or at least that's the idea. Lyft very frequently makes a deal out of the fact that they are the future. Like, you won't need to own your car. Sell your second car and use Lyft. I don't find that to be workable for me, because I need to pick up dogs and I need to leave things in the car on multiple errand trips, and that just doesn't work well in a Lyft situation.
I'm also curious whether it's what kind of Lyft are you getting. If this is like you're getting Lyft in the really big car, that's kind of neat. You're kind of saving money. Or you're getting the Lyft line where you got to like run down the 2 blocks to be able to access it. Is it really as convenient as regular Lyft? I don't know the actual details.
Oh, it's regular Lyft. I mean, they're not saying it's. I think they would be saying it's Lyft line if it was the one where you have to run to it. But that's a good question.
Lyft XL where you get the nicer cars. I mean, I could see.
No, I don't think you're getting that either. I think
that could totally work if they had different subscription models of like, okay, there's a Lyft cheap subscription where like you all meet on the bus stop or the Lyft stop.
Yeah.
And there's an expensive one.
I was getting rid of my car. Like, I don't need a black car. I don't need some limo. I just want to, just want somebody to, be downstairs as soon as possible.
That could explain the $300 one that the Verge article doesn't have details on. Maybe the $300 one's regular and the $399 is the $199 is regular and the $300 is the black or something like that. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and join in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Let's check the mailbag. What's in it, Sarah?
Lots of stuff. And speaking of mailbag, after we record the show today, Iyaz and Tom and I are going to go over some of our emails that we can't get to in the regular show, called the DTNS mailbag, until we have a better name for it. However, speaking of mailbag, we've gotten a lot of responses. Scott Johnson on Wednesday was like, I got this Raspberry Pi. What do I do with it? I could get a new one, but it would be nice to repurpose. So many good options. And this one comes from Paul, he says it's always burning hot in Clearwater, Florida. He mentioned Pi-hole, which we mentioned the other day. He also mentioned something called ADS-BNMLAT receiver to track flights, which is a way to track flights that requires additional hardware, minimal cost though, and a clear line of sight of the sky for the antenna. More money could be spent for higher power antenna to track flights further away, but flight data is contributed to the Flight Aware tracking site. In return, you're awarded an enterprise account at no cost.
That's cool. I use FlightAware when I'm at the airport. If I'm ever delayed, FlightAware is what I look at to figure out where my plane is, when's it coming in. That's really, really cool.
Honorable mentions. He mentions RetroPie, which is retropie.org.uk, requires VPN. And then KMTTG, which is, he says it's his next project, not completed, but created to download, decrypt, and cut advertising and re-encode shows from Activa.
All right. Very, very cool. Thank you for those. And to everybody, the Raspberry Pi suggestions keep on coming. I keep sending them to Scott. He's super appreciative. And I would not be surprised if he doesn't find something in there that gets him going on his Raspberry Pi. Well, it's time to check in with Len Peralta to find out which of our stories today do you think he illustrated, Len?
Well, I could not let anything go by without talking about the Nectome story, which really captured my imagination in more ways than one. As a matter of fact, my wife and I were talking about this story last night, and what kind of struck me as sort of weird is that you can digitally upload your memories and everything else and preserve into another host eventually if they can get it. But it's sort of like moving into a new apartment and the furniture's already there, and it's sort of like, well, I don't want this furniture, so of course the first person that's going to do it is going to erase all the previous memory. It's taking up too much space. I'm deleting everything, so I don't know, maybe it's $10,000 well spent. I don't know. But
so your worry is that people will reuse the brain and delete you.
Well, I think it'll be like, yeah, they'll forget, like, oh, your idea is that, oh, I'm going to preserve my memories, my ideas, my thoughts, and one day
there are
everything
too
will be...
Too many thoughts.
Because the idea is that you preserve the brain so that people can extract the data, and the brain would not really be useful. But you're saying that the opposite will happen is they'll not figure out how to use your memories. They'll be like, oh, we can actually revive this brain, but it's got all this crap in here.
Yeah, let's get rid of it first, and then we'll start loading it with our stuff. And it's like, no, what are you doing?
That's amazing.
The reality of it. So, yes, it's a little bit strange overall. I found the whole story a little bit odd. But regardless, it's available now in a print form at my online store at lenperaltastore.com. And let me just mention, this stuff, you can buy this stuff like right now. Like, and it'd be a great time to buy it because I'm a little bit slow right now. so if you want
his business, he means, not him.
Not
He'll
me.
be fast getting you the stuff.
Still draws, like clockwork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm waiting for some other gigs to come up. So if you want to help me out, go to Len.
Len's got time. Commission him now. He could be
right.
making a huge movie poster of your dog's movie, which is a thing he did for me that I commissioned for Christmas.
I have done that before. Yes,
Yeah.
I could draw Andy Panda or whatever.
Peter Panda, yeah.
Peter Panda.
And you, as you were pointing out on Twitter, there's a huge library of old DTNS prints that you can shop for as well. So go find all that stuff.
Absolutely.
lenperaltastore.com.
Also, thanks to Iyaz Akhtar for joining us on this fine Friday. Iyaz, what is going on in your world, and where can everyone keep up with you?
There's a lot of stuff going on in my world. The best thing you can do is go to twitter.com/Iyaz. That's IYAZ. That's where I promote a lot of the stuff I do at cnet.com or elsewhere, finitecomedy.com or gfqnetwork.com. That's right. That's a lot of plugs because I'm in a lot of places. And I'm also here every now and then.
Busy man.
Yeah,
Check
I'm
it
having
out.
a lot of fun.
Twitter.com/Iyaz, IYAZ. Thanks to everybody who supports this show. It's the reason we're able to do the fun stuff that we do and talk about brains and phones and TVs and everything else at patreon.com/DTNS. And of course, you can even get some Len Peralta art to wear on your person in our store at dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. If you'd like to join us live, please do. Live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
We'll be back Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh, Lance Ulanoff will be on.
Yeah,
Don't speak. Don't speak.
Don't speak, we know just what you're thinking.
I was like, man, Roger must really care about
Once
cloud
Roger
gaming.
chimed in, I was like, ooh, that voice is real weird.
Yeah.
And, I lost my voice recently, so, but the struggle is real.
All right. Roger's going to quietly think of a title, looking at the suggestions. And here's a fun thing that I'm going to do because I forgot to do it before the show, and I don't want to forget. So I'm going to call it a treat, an exclusive extra. Except really it's just me doing work that I don't want to forget. So this is the promo that I send a text message. I'm going to record it right now, if that's cool. All right.
Fine with me.
Yeah. It's all good? All right. Here we go. This week on Daily Tech News Show, we follow the saga of Broadcom, Qualcomm, briefly Intel, and then the U.S. government ends the whole thing. Talk about why IKEA is beginning assembly service in the U.S. Discuss YouTube's moderation policies. Talk about whether a decentralized web, aka Web 3.0, is on the horizon. And decide if we want our brains preserved for later upload, especially since they have to kill you to do it. All that and much, much more. Living stuff at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thank you.
I've actually never heard this.
Yeah, that's
I
Nate
see
plays it on.
But I've never heard you record it.
Yeah. Nate plays that on the text message. I usually do it before the show. But not today.
Not today.
Today is not that day. There may be a day when the strength of men fail.
That day is not today.
Nope, that's not today. My goodness.
Are they just using an electron microscope?
What about an electron microscope?
I'm reading about this, the whole nectome thing. I'm like, electron microscopes destroy everything, and they're fantastic for that. And that's something I learned about in college. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And they're like, oh, but it kills the subject. And you're like, oh, shit. Well, do we have to kill it? They're like, yeah, for science. So
for science.
So essentially, that's what this is. It's a man yelling, or I guess it's a guy yelling, for science, we need to kill you. Robert McIntyre says, I don't think you need to do this. There must be
Speaking of killing, would you kill me if I included ID3 into our mailbag discussion, or
like tags?
Well, there's a whole conversation going on.
I don't have an answer for it, so
I don't either.
I mean, then that I don't know if that.
I was really hoping you were talking about Independence Day 3 or something. I'm like, is there a third one?
No. So, lifting subscriptions, make Lyft's car payment instead of yours, or the user interface identical to physician-assisted suicide.
Isn't that like DTNS, like colon 100% non-lethal?
I mean, is that true? It's quite a claim.
You're right. Somebody might die listening to this show.
Yeah.
They're in their car and like
100%.
And that's why they should have been on a Lyft subscription.
Lifting subscriptions. I like that. No, nothing. Lifting subscriptions.
Really? We're not going to go with brains?
All right.
I'm just asking.
Nothing about like glass brains or
they're gonna just.
I still don't understand. Like, if you have like say like chronic depression and they save your brain data, does that mean if they ever find a way to put you in a new body, you just be depressed in that too?
Well, maybe we didn't make this clear. They don't put you in a new body. The whole point, the aim here is that you would get uploaded and simulated.
So you'd be simulated.
But
depressed.
what's the point? I don't get that.
This
Like,
was a plot.
who is enjoying that then?
This was a
simulated
plot
you.
This was a plot device in X-Files, episode 3.
This is also like a Black Mirror episode from the last season where that woman comes back in that guy's brain.
I mean, are we? Let me say this thing. You know, I love Iyaz, but if Iyaz uploaded his brain, and I was around, my ancestors are out later, and they're like, "Hey, I want to see what Iyaz was thinking about."
What if you
I
could?
don't know if I could spend that time.
What if you could text me? Like, if I'll be living in a simulation, like, "Hey, I really want to know what this guy was thinking." Maybe I can ask him or her. Like,
oh yeah, that's like Altered Carbon, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, then they download the mind into.
Well, they could put people's stack into a virtual environment and question them.
So that would be really helpful for like, okay, how do we get out of this problem? Einstein, Hawking, anybody? No.
So, but like, would that personality run off, I guess, a virtual machine? So you could reboot them if they get too talkative.
Well, I guess you could have their data streaming into some kind of parser, so they don't have to be as.
Then is it that really them then?
Exactly.
Somebody get Plato.
That's the philosophical question.
Somebody call up Plato's brain. We have
It's just a simulation of the person, but it's not them.
But what's the difference? How do you know?
Yeah.
If you have all the, like, theoretically, if you have all the memories and all the experiences of you, it will that entity will think it's you. So how is it not you?
All the experiences of you sounds like a great self-help book.
That assumes a lot. There's a lot of assumptions being made.
Well, that's a different question, is can you do it? But if you can do it, then is it you?
Well, no.
That's why I think whoever would get it would be like, let's wipe this clean. We need some more.
Well, no, I thought that was brilliant, because this whole story is predicated on, so what they'll do with the brain, because it's been turned into glass, is to, take the memories out of it and upload it. But you're like, well, what if they take the glass brain and figure out like, oh, we just do this and now we can use the brain again. Just get rid of all that data, though. That's crazy. I love that.
It's like wiping a hard drive clean.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's essentially what it is.
So lifting subscriptions or the user interface identical to physician-assisted
I guess it's user experience, not user interface. I think that's the
user interface, user experience. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I got a flu.
User
interface is identical to physician-assisted suicide. That's a little difference.
I submitted one. I don't know where it is now. Brain backups, 100% fatal.
Is it a backup or is it a replication?
Well, is there a difference?
I think so.
Why?
Backup seems to imply that you can use it. Replication means that there's a second one.
But I mean, replication is just a copy.
Yeah, but it's not accessible though. This one, is it? Sorry, I'm overthinking this. There's the headline.
Netflix for cars.
Netflix. So cars can watch things too? All right. Netflix for games.
Yes, for cars, like Cars 2, like
And
Pixar.
games can watch movies too.
Or Cars, watch a movie called Humans from the Cars universe version of Pixar.
With like a horror thing, like the humans go into the cars. Oh my god!
That's disgusting.
Oh no! They open the door.
I actually like Feel Better Soon, Roger. Okay, we'll go with lifting subscriptions. I'm good unless y'all got another.
No, I like it.
All right.
I like.
I have no strong feelings. Ever.
Once again, Roger is correct.
Yes. It's true. That's why people hate me.
Chloroseptic.
Septic.
It doesn't work.
He puts the sep in chloroseptic.
It puts the sepsis.
Should I just drink Listerine instead? It tastes better.
Well, apparently, it used to be like what, a floor cleaner, Listerine. I was reading about that.
Wait,
No,
what?
it was started as a antiseptic of some sort, not a floor.
Check.
Let's drink it.
You don't drink Listerine, guys.
Yeah,
You
don't
do
drink
that.
Listerine, folks. Don't take the Listerine challenge.
That's bad.
No Tide, whatever.
Yeah, wash down your Tide Pods with a
Don't-
slug of
Don't
Listerine.
swallow Listerine. It's funny, the whole idea of mouthwash has sort of always escaped me. Like every dentist I've ever talked to is like, no, that doesn't do anything. Just brush your teeth.
Yeah,
Well, I think
no,
it's a follow up to brush.
it's a masking agent.
Yeah, for your bad breath.
No, well, it's not marketed for bad breath. It's marketed
but
to kill germs.
kill germs. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
well,
mean,
how
that's
they-
what
Kills the
toothpaste
germs that
does.
cause bad breath.
I'm not wrong. It says it was sold as both a floor cleaner and a cure for gonorrhea.
First or later?
Listerine, for instance, was invented. This is from Stephen D. Levitt's book, Freakonomics. Now, this is from Wikipedia, so I don't have the actual thing here, so I'll have to look at it.
Okay, all
But it's a
right.
quote from it. Listerine, for instance, was invented in the 19th century as a powerful surgical antiseptic.
Right.
It was
okay,
later sold, distilled form, as both a floor cleaner and a cure for gonorrhea.
Okay,
But
then we're both right.
it wasn't a runaway
lots of
success.
things were, cocaine was a analgesic
Yeah.
back in the day.
Dynamite was invented to bring world peace.
How about that?
Totally worked.
Absolutely
Full
has
circle.
worked. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
world
why we
peace.
don't have any wars.
Yeah, I mean that's why it has been made up in those cartoons with the TNT and the.
We don't have any wars with TNT.
That's right.
Yes. No one uses dynamite in their wars anymore.
No, we use different things to
It's a
blow
Wile E.
people up.
Coyote and his war against that damn Roadrunner.
I was watching The Last Jedi with commentary yesterday, and at towards the end, there's a big pile of boulders, and Ryan Johnson was like, I kept telling them in visual effects, no, make it more Wile E. Coyote. I want Wile E. Coyote boulders.
Oh, so like a triangular set of rocks.
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of like a giant one.
Uh-huh.
It's like, no, that's too Easter. More Wile E. Coyote.
They rolled in a painting of boulders, and then a body.
A painting of a tunnel, and then a painting of boulders. And then Chewie comes falling out of the sky and stops.
Or he
he
falls off
walks
the
off
side
the
of the cliff and doesn't fall.
Yeah,
until
he
he
keeps
looks
walking
down.
until he notices, and then he falls.
Wait, he's got to make a noise first, right? And then he falls. Well, not that noise.
That's the falling noise.
Why is Tech Meme just now telling us that Dig is shutting down Dig Reader? Wasn't that like 3 days ago?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
It's still around? I guess not. Though.
Well, no, but the news was.
Well, it's
Glass
Friday.
brains.
Maybe the algorithms are.
I definitely, yeah. I had some old stories that came across my desk this Friday as well. So.
What are they coming by? Like friggin' carrier pigeon?
Yeah.
That's why that window's constantly.
Crows. You might not know this, but Venice Beach
I don't.
inundated by crows. And right around 7 a.m. every morning, there's a chorus of crows, like they're just pissed.
You mean a murder?
A murder.
Yeah.
And by that I mean Sarah goes out and wants to murder the crows for being so loud.
So wait a minute, are there any seagulls left in that area?
You see some seagulls here and there, but
Because
mostly
what I've
all
noticed
crows.
in San Francisco is
And they're
that
just so mean.
the number of crows has increased since I was a kid. In fact, when I was a kid, there were few to none. And the number of seagulls has dropped dramatically.
Well,
So
clearly.
I don't know if the crows are pushing the seagulls.
Well,
back.
I mean,
seagulls-
so I live next to a pier. Like, if you walk out on the pier, it's all seagulls. You know, it's fishing, and it's not like seagulls don't exist. But right
The
on
seagulls ate the bees. That's why they
Whatever.
disappeared. Then the crows ate the
I mean,
seagulls.
seagulls got their own problems, but the crows, I am telling. That is just they are an unfun bunch of birds.
Well, maybe the seagulls are really just these crows are actually emo seagulls. They're dressing all in black.
No,
And they're no
crows
longer
are
flying.
worse.
Oh, got it. Yeah, like
They're
that
emo.
Spider-Man movie.
Exactly. That's what's going on. You think seagulls are disappearing and the crow population is increasing? It's the actual same population.
There was-
Listen, the crows aren't fun, Sarah, because they're guarding the realms of men.
Right. And also a bag of Doritos, which happened to be, I saw it like in the
That's
alley
where
this
the realm
morning.
is near.
And one of the crows was like attacking the bag. It wasn't open. Like someone just like left a bag of Doritos on the ground. And then there were two other crows like signaling to the other crows, like, we have
that's what they do.
And this was at 7 a.m., where I was like, what in the heck? Even for them, this is really extra. And then I was like, it's
they
those
do that.
chips.
They found a half-eaten hot dog out the sidewalk in front of my house. I swear to God, one crow looked at it for like 5 minutes and then started
and then they're
calling.
like,
and then there's like 10.
Mm-hmm.
Just annoying. I had to use a garden hose to shoo them away.
And
I
you're
love the
kind of
idea-
like making eye contact with the crows, and they're kind of looking at you like, what are you going to do?
No. They remember you. Crows remember you. And they're gossipy birds.
What's
they
the
tell
lifespan
everyone.
of a crow? How long do they have to worry about?
Long enough, like 12
I don't
years.
know.
Well, it depends. Is it a ranger or?
I mean, they're angry. They are
There's a
some
lot.
angry birds. I
Get
almost
it?
went down and like opened
No.
up the Doritos and was like, just have at it, calm down. Stop staring at
Well, you gotta be worried for 7 to 8 years.
until the Doritos deteriorate.
Unless it's a captive bird. Apparently, they live up to 30 years. That's not helpful at all.
Really? Oh,
American crow.
I gotta move. I can't deal with these crows.
You got to quit counting crows, Sarah.
Ah, yes, good one.
Everybody did in the 90s.
It's a long December.
For grandma there? What's going on there? It's a long December.
That's your old Uncle Lenny.
That's my Uncle Lenny. How you doing, everybody?
He was a greeter of a very unpopular toy shop because he did greet everybody. Like, okay, I'm leaving.
Oh my! All right, I'm gonna start my weekend, guys.
You should. You
That
deserve
sounds
it.
great.
You know, you
Even
could
though I
actually
have a 10 o'clock call tonight.
take your weekend and have an electron microscope scan it. It'll kill it. But
That's right. That's
you'll
good.
have it forever.
I like that, and I'll remember this weekend forever.
You can always look back upon it.
This is the only piece of memory that will be available. If I were to do that and spend $10,000, then eventually they would access my memories. There'd be a glitch. Something would go wrong.
It's a gap.
So it'd be the stupidest thing.
No,
this
they
is-
filling up
said
my
the price
car.
has gone up. $10,000 gets you this one memory. If you'd like to access the rest of your memories, please pay the following.
The freemium
Yes,
model's coming.
Yeah.
See, yeah, it's just like a preview mode.
All right. Everyone wave at your cameras.
Goodbye.
We'll see you later, everybody. Have
And
a
now
good
our watch is ended.